What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
And he woke up and he was over the ocean. And he's like, how did I get over the ocean? This doesn't even make any sense. And the amount of gas that was missing from his plane didn't make any sense that he was able to get this far. What they're saying, and there's a recording of this, is that this guy went into a trance and was channeling some alien intelligence.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, y'all. All right, so what's today's video about? Well, it's about this crazy story you just heard. There's this video going viral right now about Joe Rogan talking about the story. It's kind of from an older podcast, but man, this story is nuts, right? It's about this Mexican pilot who essentially goes on his very first flight ever, by the way, his very first solo flight, and apparently gets channeled by aliens, and then they use him as a microphone to speak a message. So we're going to dive into this. Very, very interesting. All right, so let's begin.
Okay, so this Mexican pilot was flying, and in the middle of his flying, he got confused. He didn't know what the fuck happened. He fell asleep, and he woke up and he was over the ocean. And he's like, how did I get over the ocean? This doesn't even make any sense. And the amount of gas that was missing from his plane didn't make any sense that he was able to get this far. And what they're saying, and there's a recording of this, is that this guy went into a trance and was channeling some alien intelligence that was explaining through this guy's voice that the human race is the only intelligent race in the universe that still uses war and still kills people and engages in large-scale conflict and has nuclear weapons, and that they have to stop doing this or that someone's going to step in.
All right, now look, we will get to the recorded message from this guy later in the video. But first, we need a little background and we need to explore the story a little bit more, all right? So what's interesting is that a year before Rafael had his experience, right, this Mexican pilot, there was another Mexican pilot who had a somewhat similar story.
El día 3 de mayo de 1975, el joven piloto aviador mexicano Carlos Antonio Santos Montiel regresaba de la ciudad de Zihuatanejo a bordo de su avioneta con dirección al Aeropuerto Internacional de la Ciudad de México. Repentinamente, al encontrarse a la altura de Tequesquitengo en el estado de Morelos, fue interceptado en pleno vuelo por dos objetos voladores no identificados que se situaron sobre cada una de las alas de su avioneta, y un tercer objeto lo golpeó, situándose en la parte inferior del fuselaje. El piloto, con gran temor, comunicó a la torre de control en México la extraña situación que estaba viviendo en ese momento. A continuación, escucharemos un fragmento de la grabación original en la que usted podrá escuchar la angustia e incertidumbre que vivió el piloto en aquel momento, donde reportó haber perdido el control de su aeronave. Después de aterrizar sin mayores contratiempos, el piloto fue revisado física y mentalmente y se reportó que se encontraba en perfectas condiciones de salud. El caso de Carlos Antonio de los Santos ganó gran notoriedad a nivel nacional e internacional, a tal grado que una de las grandes repercusiones que tuvo el haber revelado su experiencia fue la de haber sido acosado por misteriosos hombres de negro que lo amenazaron para que no hablara más de su experiencia.
So that's kind of interesting. So basically, Rafael's story comes a year later after Carlos's story. Now, that may be a red flag for you, and it kind of is a little bit for me as well, let's be real. But this is still an exciting story. This is going to be one of those videos where it's like you decide for yourself, you know, one of those type of things. So look, let's move on and discuss this story. But before we do that, I got to keep the mics on, y'all. Hey Vetters, I got another crazy day ahead. I'm researching my next UFO video and I have no time to think about meals. Sound familiar? That's why Huel has become my go-to. Huel is a plant-based, high-protein, nutritionally complete meal developed by registered nutritionists. Quick to prep, super convenient, and it helps me stay consistent without all the endless decision fatigue. No more stressing over what to eat. I just grab and go and my body gets everything it needs. And this month, Huel is making it even easier to start strong with a high-protein starter bundle. It includes 1 Black Edition powder in chocolate, 5 Huel ready-to-drink Black Edition bottles, those are my favorite, and a Huel shaker. Black Edition powder has 45 grams of protein, and the Black Edition ready-to-drink meals have 35 grams of protein. That's a game changer for staying fueled. This bundle is only available in January and it is expected to sell out, so act quickly. Use the link on the screen or click the link in the description and use my code VETTED20 or use the QR code on the screen now for 20% off the high protein starter kit. New customers only. Now, let's learn a little bit more about Raphael's story. All right, get a little more background of, you know, more than just Joe Rogan trying to explain it from memory, which he did a good job. But this is a Mexican documentary TV show that kind of put out a piece about it, like the clip you saw earlier about Carlos, but this is about Rafael. So take a listen.
Sin embargo, tan solo un año después, otro joven piloto aviador mexicano viviría otra experiencia muy similar a la de Carlos Antonio de los Santos. Ocurrió a las 8 de la mañana del lunes 21 de junio del año de 1976, cuando un joven estudiante de aviación llamado Rafael Pacheco Pérez, a bordo de una avioneta propiedad de la Escuela de Aviación México, en la que cursaba sus estudios para obtener su licencia de piloto. La ruta trazada para el estudiante consistía en realizar un sobrevuelo a la altura de Texcoco con regreso a la Ciudad de México. Pacheco Pérez contaba con apenas unas horas de práctica, y esta era una ocasión en la que realizaría el viaje en solitario. Después de algunos minutos, su avioneta se perdió de los radares. La torre de control de Acapulco registró repentinamente la presencia de un eco en el radar que sobrevolaba frente a las costas del puerto realizando giros. En ese momento, el controlador de vuelo Carlos de Crechi Obermayer inició comunicación vía radio para tratar de averiguar quién estaba realizando esas maniobras en el aire. Al establecer contacto con el piloto, este le respondió a través de una misteriosa voz metálica que se identificó como un ser de otro mundo.
So this story is crazy, right? I think what I find most interesting is that it was his very first solo flight. Like that's just like, that has got to suck, right? Your very first time. It's like basically doing, you know, driving school and then your first time out in the car alone, you know, you get taken over by aliens, right? But look, there is a lot of surrounding evidence to support his claim in the sense that, you know, he didn't have drugs or alcohol in his system, no mental illness, right? I don't know. This is just very interesting. And the distance he went and the gas and all these things. So, you know, I don't know. There's just some interesting corroborating evidence.
Después de casi una hora, los seres liberarían del estado hipnótico al joven piloto aviador y lo devolverían al control de la avioneta para que pudiera recibir instrucciones y al mismo tiempo logrará aterrizar en el aeropuerto de Acapulco. Las repercusiones de este hecho extraordinario derivó en una exhaustiva investigación especial por parte de las autoridades aeronáuticas mexicanas, y al parecer, al joven piloto se le suspendió temporalmente su licencia aeronáutica, al mismo tiempo de que desapareció de la opinión pública hasta que se supo de él, cuando aparentemente partió hacia la isla de Cuba, tomando una aeronave sin permiso.
Now they did suspend his license and apparently he never flew again, which absolutely sucks, but you know, they were probably like, hey, dude, maybe you get, you know, channeled by aliens again, right? And again, we will get to that message here in just a minute, so stay with me. But, you know, let's discuss, like, let's just put aside the story, red flags, this, that, green flags, all of that. What would people believe you even if it did actually happen, right? Let's say you did get channeled by aliens. who's going to really believe you except people in the UFO community, right? But let's be real, just overall, you sound crazy, right? But if it did actually happen, how do you prove yourself to anybody? And it's not that far of a possibility that we could be used as antennas and channeled, right? That way, if aliens are so advanced, right? It's actually not that crazy to think about. But again, would people even believe you?
You know, that's the thing. Like, if there was a unique event where something happened and an alien race did interact with human beings and then never again, no one would believe you, even if it was real. If it was that's the problem with like unique events. We base reality on what we experience and what everybody else experiences on a day-to-day basis,
right?
What we have evidence of. But if something happened that was completely unique like that, where they said, like, this is the only way we can communicate, their equipment is too primitive,
right,
we'll just take over this guy's mind and have
right,
him say it.
Now, the moment you've probably all been waiting for, which is this recording, okay, of the pilot, of the aliens channeling through him. And this is kind of crazy. All right. So look, there's a video that Chris Ramsey from Area 52 put out, real deep dive on this. I'm going to put a link down below to that video if you really want to learn everything there is to know about this story. He did a phenomenal video and I highly recommend it. It is a deep dive. But I'm going to play a short clip because Chris, subtitled this transmission and it's just really nice. So take a listen to Chris Ramsey playing part of the recorded transmission of, again, Raphael being channeled by aliens.
Now, this is such a baffling case, and so I would give anything to listen to that message. And in fact, we do have a small snippet of it. Listen to this chilling snippet of this being channeling Raphael. Crazy. He took off from Mexico City, should have been a routine solo flight to the nearby Chimalhuacan airstrip. Instead, was him flying inexplicably 300 kilometers away to Acapulco, a flight which should have taken 3 hours in his Cessna 150, which was completed in just 1 hour. He then radios into the air traffic controller, Carlos de Crecci, who we're going to hear from in a second, but his voice was strange, emotionless, and robotic, which is interesting because that's also what the Men in Black sounded like. The transmission says, he speaks because he is ordered to. It is his voice, but he speaks not of his own free will. We use it as a microphone. And the entities claim to be extraterrestrial, physically similar to humans again, and confirmed the existence of other alien civilizations, and the voice spoke English, Spanish, and German, 2 languages which, especially German, Raphael did not speak. Not just fluently at all. He did not speak German. The interesting thing here as well is noted that, no drugs, no signs of mental illness, no hypoxia, but also that this would be Perez's last flight. He never flew again after that. It messed him up so bad, he claimed that the event and the beings behind it destroyed his career. He believed that aliens were malevolent and that he had been used against his will. Although they claimed that they were benevolent, Raphael didn't think so.
I get it. This is a hard story to believe, even for myself, and I'm Mexican as well. My family on my mom's side, my mom is from Mexico City, where this all took place in the 70s, right? 1976, which is, my brother was born in 1975 in Guadalajara. I don't remember ever hearing this story growing up, but I may have, right? I honestly just don't know. But, are there some red flags? Yeah, but there's also, again, some corroborating evidence. And I think if you're just going to open your mind to these sort of possibilities, that's just what it becomes. And it can be entertaining for sure. You don't necessarily have to believe or not believe sometimes. This is one of those stories that's like, wow, okay, maybe, right? I mean, I'm, like Joe Rogan's about to tell you, I want to believe this so bad.
I want to believe it. I want to believe it so bad.
I don't. I definitely think there's other life forms out there.
I do
and
too, but I don't know what
advanced.
really happened.
Yeah.
I really wish I knew. I mean, I really
But this
wish
guy
I knew.
did fall asleep while he was flying a plane, so can we really trust him?
Right, and he did wake up over the ocean. But if he did wake up over the ocean, it doesn't make sense that he got over the ocean, if that's true.
Right.
Explain that. Like, how did he get there?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Did you take over the plane, move it with your spaceship? Or why'd you put him over the ocean? So if he crashed, he wouldn't kill anybody?
Right.
Why'd you do that? Like, what is all this?
And what's the thing with the gas being gone?
Right. Because I guess they, picked it up and took it.
Huh.
I don't know. We are watching you. What else does it say? Definite surprise. Issued a certificate stating he was in perfect health and had not consumed any drugs. It ruined his career and he never piloted a plane again. Wow.
This was his first solo flight, too.
Whoa. Imagine your first solo flight. You're like, I am going to pull a fucking gag on these motherfuckers. I got an idea. I got some extra gas.
That was 1976?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, bettors, again, I'm going to put a link down below to all the clips that I showed today. And again, this is just one of those stories that is fascinating, right? It's kind of just will forever probably remain a mystery. But what is interesting is that Raphael thinks that those beings are malevolent, not benevolent as they claimed. And that seems to be an interesting theme in the UFO community, the alien community, right? Like, that's what people debate over all the time. Are they a threat or not, right? Should we be worried or not? I would say if your body gets taken over and they channel through you, it's no consent given, right? It's kind of like abductions, like alien abductions where you're not giving consent. That doesn't seem good. And they're experimenting on you. And they're essentially experimenting on Raphael by using him as a microphone. We don't know the physical side effects that could happen from something like that, right? Because he later went on to just drive a taxi and, move on from this and, not want to talk about it anymore, right? So I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments, right? If aliens do come and do do we need to give consent? Is there a consent form ahead of time? You can just all right, I consent. And then just from that point forward, something happens. I don't know. Just an interesting conversation to think about. Are they a threat or not? Something like this, is this considered a malevolent action, right? Even if they're giving a benevolent message? I don't know. Very interesting. What do you think about Carlos's story? And what do you think, Raphael's story? And what do you think about Carlos's story that happened a year prior, right? Does that hurt Raphael's story? Or does it help add credibility because they're so close together and, right? Does it add credibility? All right, y'all. We'll see you guys in the next one. Remember that every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Yeah, I was just calling to kind of report something I saw back in 2009. I live in Marietta, Georgia, and I was driving on Atlanta Road going into Marietta Square. I was sitting at the light behind a few cars. I was distracted, but when I look up, none of the cars were moving, and a few cars, people had gotten out and they were pointing to the sky. So I look up and there was an orange orb, like the size of a basketball, like a sphere. And it was just, at first, you know, I thought it was a meteor, but it was just floating through the sky. And I'm like, that's not a meteor, it's going way too slow. And then what tripped me out was it changed directions. It was coming down at an angle, kind of floating through the sky, and then, but not floating like a balloon. It was floating in a straight line. But, you know, it looked like it was floating because, you know, you didn't see a propulsion or whatever. And then it you know, it turned upwards at an angle and it just took off. And it's been such a long time, I don't even remember if it just went off into the sky or, you know, but I think the car started moving at one point and I jumped back in my car and I started driving. Now, one thing is I do live by Lockheed. My house is like 5 or 6 minutes away from Lockheed. And Marietta Square is in the vicinity of Dobbins Air Force Base and Lockheed as well. So I always thought maybe, you know, Lockheed was testing some type of drone or something, like a little plasma drone or a sphere. Anyways, I remember this was like 2008, 2009. I didn't even have a smartphone. And I went home and I looked it up, like, has anybody else seen something in Marietta? And I wasn't the only one. There's a good amount of people that saw it, at least 10, 15 people. All right.